channel. Today we are making a devil's food cake. I've cooked it last night and kept it in the fridge. I'm doing a puppy themed because, well, my channel is based on my dogs, including Monty, and some that you might see throughout my videos. What we're gonna be eating today is a piping bag. If you choose to, I'm going to attempt it, but we'll end up using a spoon. You will need some icing, which I have already turned a nice green shade, and I've put some aside and dyed it brown. You'll need some decoration flowers and beads, some sprinkles, a pack with the green sprinkles to be used as blades of grass, a spatula. I do also end up using a spoon doing this. I did draw out a template, but as you can see during this, I kind of just put the icing on top and instantly regret it as the template starts moving. Here's where the regret starts to hit. Ignore the fact that I'm not wearing gloves. I would usually choose to wear gloves, but as I'm just keeping this cake for my family to enjoy, I didn't bother putting on gloves. I didn't really mix the icing very well. It's still a little bit white, but it ends up looking quite nice anyway, and getting mixed in as I smooth it out. Here's where another lot of regret sinks in, as I can't see the baking paper paw print. I'm trying to fix it by making it a bit thinner, but as I'm doing so, I'm pushing the baking paper out of the way, but we'll end up trashing that later. I bet if I'd put a bit more effort in, maybe using the piping bag, I could have fixed it up and just gone around it instead of trying to ice over the top of it, and it might have ended up looking a little bit better. But that's just something we can look back on in a year's time when we try it again, maybe. If I just have to try it again. So I don't notice until later on in the video that I've dropped that chunk of icing on the table, but you'll see me point it out later. Again, ignore the fact that I don't have gloves on. I really should be wearing gloves, especially when touching the icing. I should be wearing gloves, but I honestly had to get things done very quickly today, so I completely forgot to go searching for the gloves. The Chaos Twins have destroyed the box. So right now I'm just working on trying to get all of the edges. I don't manage to get all of the edges. The cake isn't completely smooth as I would have hoped it to be. I didn't want it to stick to the pan, so I used cooking spray and baking paper. I didn't push it all out to the edges. That's a learning curve for sure. Make sure to work on that for next time. Here's what it looks like after icing it, and it's just a quick jump and like cleaning stuff up. Still not noticing the lump of icing. There I go. This was where I attempted to use the piping bag, but A, realized the icing was starting to solidify, and B, realizing I don't have enough icing, and that it was coming out far too small. This was my first time using this piping bag. I only just got it at the shops today, so I definitely should have watched a video on how to use it beforehand. It's always helpful to do some research beforehand. Now, the cake that I made today was, yes, based off dogs and to represent my pups, but it is not dog friendly whatsoever. There are ways to make a dog friendly cake using carob and frozen yogurt or yogurt drops instead of some of the other ingredients. I'm sure some way down the track we will do a dog friendly cake. As I said, I have 2 puppies at the moment, and I'd love to make a cake for them for their birthday. This is me trying to ice but not having enough icing in the bag and it coming out way too small for the area that I was trying to do. I could have probably did without adding the silver tip, then it would have come out in a bigger clump, and maybe putting the screwy top on the outside of the bag would have held the piping bag and the piping tip in place a little bit better. But again, it's a learning curve. I'll try again next week. This is me just trying to get as much of the icing out and get the icing tip out so I can try another technique, which I have to duck out and grab a spoon for. I also later realized I don't have enough of the brown icing to do it, and I've got a little bit of the green icing left. So I'm adding some green food dye into the green icing, sorry, to turn into brown, but I added way too much food coloring, as I will soon show you what color it turns into. I just thought I would try and add the other brown icing to see if it would help even out the color distribution, or just the fact that it will make it a little bit more icing in there, and maybe break away up some of the chunks that were in the brown icing as it solidified. It's still slightly red because I put too much red food dye, so it went from too green to too red. This is me trying to work out whether I had green icing that was easy to access, or whether I had to run off and get some, which I did have to run off and get some, but it didn't take long, and I was mixing the icing again. And soon you'll get to meet one of the chaotic twins as he pops his head in to see what I'm doing. Don't worry, I don't let him near the cake at all. I don't let him near anything that he shouldn't be eating. or near. Before he even gets there, I've moved in his way. Don't worry, I do wash my hands in between touching the puppy and actually touching any of the food. I just couldn't step away while he was there, so I figured I'd continue mixing. By the time I post this for Australia and New Zealand, it will be Anzac Day, so happy Anzac Day, guys. We actually got our old dog Monty, the Monty that I named this channel after, the Monty that I think this cake after. Tomorrow will be his gotcha day. I think about 15 years ago now. So he's definitely been a large part of my life before he passed. But yeah, I thought this was a nice way to represent him this week. Here I'm just using a teaspoon to move the brown icing and place it and smooth it out onto the forefront pattern, and fixing the hole of where the actual core pad was supposed to be, which I did attempt to fix earlier while I was icing it. I was trying to scoop some of the icing away, but I ended up scraping some of the cake instead, so I fixed that up and I came back to fix it, and now I still probably should have put aside more of the brown icing. I didn't really consider how much I would need, because when I was originally dividing the two groups of icing, I hadn't even really sketched out a plan of what I wanted to do, or like how big I wanted it to be, so I wasn't really sure how much I would need. These were the fun part of decorating with the flowers. There was a flower that had fallen out and was broken, so I thought I might have a little snack. Oops, and I dropped some. But these are the different colours. We've got yellow, pink, red, and blue. They're very nice flowers. Here's one of the red ones, but don't drop it. The little flowers, they're edible, of course. You try to avoid putting inedible items on top of the cake. Yes, candles and like the happy birthday signs, they usually go on and aren't usually edible, but like at the fun decorating part, you try to ignore inedible stuff. I'm speaking as if I know what I'm doing. I really don't. Like, I know me as a child, if I had been given a cake, I think I had a Dora on a cake one year, and honestly, looking back, I probably removed it and loved it, but I would have probably tried to eat it. I know I definitely put it in my mouth to suckle the icing off. That is something small children like to do. And especially if it's like paper design, like I had baking paper on there. If I had kept the baking paper on there, people might try to eat that thinking it's edible. I've had people try and eat cupcake wrappers before, so I try and lean away from that. Here's the bees. They're cute little bees. They're very cute. I think I skipped it, but I put the bees on and I'd forgotten to record this originally, so here I am adding the green sprinkles. I figured they could act as if they're blades of grass, which ends up looking really nice in the end. I love it. Honestly, the cake ended up turning out better than I had hoped. I've had quite a few cake fails in the past, so I didn't have my hopes up too high on this cake, even though it was such a basic design compared to others that I have tried to do. I tried to make balls of wool at one point. I did not have an icing bag and icing piping bag, and the icing was way too runny. So yeah, this is the final cake. Hope you enjoy. See you next time.